today I'm going to talk about how you can read aloud to your children in a way that actually will improve their comprehension. I talked a little bit in a previous video about how important it is to be reading to your kids and with your kids and letting them pick books, and all of that is still very true. But there is a difference between just taking a book and reading it cover to cover, word for word, and taking a book and using it as a tool to boost comprehension while also reading it in a way that they'll actually enjoy it and look forward to it and ask you to read some more. So first up, I'm going to say everything in moderation. If you start to ask too many questions every single time you read a book to your kids, they're going to stop asking you to read. And that's never the goal. We want them to enjoy reading, look forward to reading, ask you to read books. But if you ask a little bit within the story, or talk about the book later, maybe while you're driving somewhere or over dinner, that can really help. And that's a way you can use some of these questions. I used second grade just as an example, but every grade, K through 6, and even junior and high school, have actual comprehension goals for the kids. And I'm going to use some of those in my example. So one of the things that I like to do when I read a book to my kids, so this one's called Hansel and Gretel Ninja Chicks. It's just a fun little retelling of Hansel and Gretel, but they're chickens, and it's just fun. I take a moment to look for any words on each page that I feel like they might not understand. Now, sometimes they surprise me, and they actually do. Sometimes they can use context, and sometimes they look at me and they say, "Mom, I have no idea what that means." And then I can take it as a chance to tell them, which also goes along with one of the standards that they're supposed to be able to do some word recognition and have understanding. So, for example, on this page, just give you an example. If I was reading, I might say, "One day they returned from the dojo to a coop in complete disarray." Disarray is a big word. They might not know that. Now, if you were just reading through, you just keep going, whether they get it or not. But I stopped and I say, "What do you think disarray means?" They got back and it was in disarray. What do you see in the picture? How does it look like it's in disarray? And then hopefully they would notice that it's messy, it's not organized. And then I can even talk about how if you arrange something, you're setting it up nicely, and in disarray, it means that it's all just messy. Now they learned a new word. Now they improve their vocabulary in the middle of a fun story. There are 6 questions. You guys all know them. You've heard them. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. So the signs of a tussle showed someone with muscle had dragged their dear papa away. Oh no. Who disappeared? Who did they take away? Hopefully they'll say their dad. Where do you think he went? Why do you think they took him? Who do you think took him? Ask them any question that you can think of on a given page, maybe not every page, but a few pages, that will ask them about just the little details in the story, the character, the setting, what's taking place. There's a Common Core standard about how do the characters respond. So you can see them, they're kind of shocked. And you can ask your kids, well, how do you think they're going to respond to this? How do you think they're going to handle it? How would you feel if you came back and saw that your dad was gone? Kind of connect it to that personal experience. Maybe share about a time when they were scared that somebody went away. That would probably be on a follow-up at a later time where you say, "Oh, remember when we were reading that book and they were so sad that they came back and something was different? Can you think of a time when you had something different from when you left it? Or something different than how you expected it?" Something along those lines. How do you think they're going to respond? And then you can read their response and talk about how they actually responded. One of the other big things in Common Core is points of view. And it's actually a really good skill for, life, that people have different points of view. So in this particular book, it focuses on the chicks and the whole adventure that they go on. They have to go rescue him and all that stuff. And it's a great little story, but you can also talk about the fox's point of view. Sometime, again, probably later than during the story, maybe on a drive or something like that, you can talk about, well, why do you think the fox took the dad? Now, this book presents a very, actually, vegetarian point of view. Spoiler alert, that they're going to rescue all the animals of prey. But you can use it as a mini science lesson and talk about, well, doesn't the wolf need to eat? And don't you think that the wolf should be able to have their food? And it's so sad that that's their food, but how does he think he felt, or how do you think he felt when he got defeated, or something like that. Just think about the other person's point of view. Maybe he's not a bad guy, maybe he's just really hungry, and things like that. Maybe not the best example, but in every single book that a child reads, there's, not every single book, in a lot of fiction stories, there's a villain. And children's books in particular can be very polarizing. Bad guy, good guy wins, yay! But it's really good for them to stop and think about, why did the villain do what they did? Why did the bad guy make that choice? And what could he have done differently? And just kind of thinking about that. And just main point, when you read a book to your kids, don't just read the words on the page. Ask them questions. Ask them about the story. Ask them, because every single one of those questions is building their reading comprehension that will help them in school. It'll translate to improvements in even the history, the science, things like that, because a lot of those subjects require hearing the information or reading the information and then being able to learn from it, noticing the big words. And it'll actually make for a good discussion point with your kids too, and it's always good to be talking with them. Leave a comment. Let me know what things you would like me to do more videos about. I'm always open to ideas. Subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time.